Alright, hey YouTube, this is another DVD Spotlight. This time it's just on the Toho Master Collection of Rodan, where technically it was a two-disc set with, actually I should just do it. I'll just do it. It was a two-disc set with War of the Gargantuas. It showed both movie posters on the silver-like box that's for all Toho collections. These are two of my favorite movies of all time. Rodan, about the prehistoric, radiated pterodactyl that attacks Japan, but actually there's more than one that survived in this mining facility. They survived, and the army ends up defeating them by actually getting them stuck in a volcano. But as one burned to death, the other one actually goes and kills itself to die with its mate because it didn't want to live alone when it could have survived. The movie was probably one of Eiji's best movies, I think, other than Godzilla and Mothra, and it's technically one of my most favorites other than the original Godzilla. I mean, this one has has enough scenes that you won't fall asleep when you first watch the first Godzilla on your own because the subtitles are easier to see since it's in color. There is both dubbed and subbed. And it also has the documentary Bringing Godzilla Down to Size, telling about how the special features were made. Not the special features, the special effects were made. How Godzilla got up and living, and how Eiji kind of worked, and how his men worked on the set. And they actually try to recreate some of the old ways of special effects. Most of the main stars that reappear from Toho are mostly many of the lead roles in this movie, like usually the generals usually reappear. The guy who originally played Dr. Serizawa in the first movie, and Ogata, they're very familiar faces throughout the Godzilla series, and the other Toho incarnates. Rodan, it's just a popular movie because it was, like, the first, it's the first actual Kaiju Ega movie right after Godzilla to be its own series on its own. A lot of the cool things now is that the actual Rodan suit from this movie is being used as a Rebel Tech design, and they're actually including the building that it stood upon when it first attacked one of the cities. Rodan is probably one of the best monsters I've ever seen just because it could fly. Had a lot of, it didn't have any powers really, it was just that it was so strong at flying that its powers just that it was able to fly at supersonic speeds, and it was able to at least shoot powerful gusts of wind, capable of knocking buildings and tanks about. And also in the movie they do show that Rodan had its own sort of like gust attack from the mouth, like it shoot like a blast of wind, but I think that was just a feature that they added to maybe be a nuclear blast, but no one really noticed it except for a few, because a lot of the early Godzilla effects were that it shot like smoke out to expel like the nuclear flames that it would usually then be cartoonized, I don't know, special effect added in, like kind of like the lightsaber effect to shoot out his beam. And it's just one of those movies that you gotta watch. But what was the second disc in the set is the War of the Gargantuas, which is probably one of Eiji's most favorite movies of all time that he's made, where it was about two giant, like, Bigfoot creatures, one of the earth, one of the sea, and it was that the one from the sea ate people and was only nocturnal beast, while this friendlier one was of earth, like more earth-based, and it was that the government was trying to get these people, these scientists that originally studied the first one, the brown one called Sanda, to defeat Gaila. And that's when the first Maser tank was designed in this movie, and that reappears a lot throughout all the Godzilla series, and I'm actually hoping to get that Rebel Tech too, of the Maser tank. War of the Gargantuas is also one of my favorites just because of how the special effects were done. They did it that the monsters weren't as big as like most of the past Toho monsters, and actually that they were shorter than some buildings. So you had that they could kind of hide themselves in the building, like behind the buildings from one another when they started fighting one another at the end of the movie. Uh, Also, they were able to like hug down in the trees, and that so when they were getting shot at by the tanks, it was hard to find out if they were actually hitting them or not. Uh, One of the best things is that the fight choreography was kind of like not explained how they wanted it to be choreographed to the actual suit actors portraying these big-footed creatures, these Bigfoot-like monstrous creatures. They kind of just said to them, do it at your own way. And luckily for them, they had technically veteran suit user at the time. Uh, Huck, crap, I can't remember his name right now. It's hard to remember. He's the actual suit actor for the original Godzilla and most of the Godzilla for the Showa era. It was Hakuro Najame. I don't remember right away. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm just trying to record these so I can get the marathons going up for the next couple of days. If I remember, I'll just put a little strip at the bottom telling you who it actually was so you can actually check them out. So, he pretty much did all the choreography. The guy who did all the Godzilla suit acting, did the choreography sort of for the fight, or at least planned how he was going to portray it. The movie is an indirect sequel to Frankenstien Conquers the World, which was another movie which was technically one of my other favorites of Toho's. Because this one, it was an actual guy, a Japanese guy, as a mutated Frankenstein heart creature that got its own body, that then fought a dinosaur that were at the same height as the Gargantuas. And those were like some of Eiji's best because the scene work looked so realistic than some of his other films, by far. So, yeah, that's all I can say is that these movies, they're easier to acquire, they're pretty cheap, just like all Toho Masterpiece DVDs. And, I don't know if they're on Netflix yet. I don't have Netflix. A friend of mine that wanted to watch Godzilla movies asked me because he said there's a whole bunch on Netflix. So hey, just maybe check it out. I know Rodan you can actually find when it was released in the original like Godzilla collection set where it was Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, Godzilla's Revenge, and like Terror of Mechagodzilla released in a 5 set. They're sold separately now for like only $10 or less. And it starts. And it starts. He wasn't in the room for the first one, but he had to come in the room for the second one. But, yeah, so you should be able to find at least Rodan cheaper than more of the Gargantuas. AMC used to show it a whole lot before they stopped showing international movies and such. I know. And such. So, I recommend at least watch Rodan if you can. So, I'll talk to you later, YouTube, and I'll come back for more, marathon mode of DVD Spotlight.